And we're back in Elevator Paso, guys. Today, I'm very excited about this. Not just that we're going to be speaking with a very close friend of mine, but we're going to be speaking with somebody who has a lot of experience on the subject. Today, we're going to be speaking a little bit about Freemasonry, what Freemasonry is, what it entails, and, what it has to do with society in itself. But for this today, allow me to present you to Victor Pastrana. Victor is a past high priest of the York Rite in El Paso, past commander of the commander in El Paso, and a member of the Texas Grand Lodge. Victor, how are you?
Doing well, Kato. How are you?
I'm doing great, brother. Thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure's all mine.
Victor, tell me a little bit about your experience as a Freemason, first of all. How many years have you been a Freemason?
I have been a member of the order for the past 15 years.
15. And do you feel that it was a life-changing experience, or do you feel, what has it done for you?
Definitely. It's a life experience. It will be difficult to try to summarize the growth that, or the learning that I have been exposed to being a member of the fraternity.
Right. So how would you describe a Freemason to somebody who knows nothing about it?
I will describe a Freemason as, number one, as an honorable man. And then with we call them good customs. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that, but all in all, a person who is in search of the betterment of humanity.
And when you say the betterment of humanity, I mean, I'm a Freemason myself, and I have the understanding that much of this betterment of humanity starts with the individual.
That's where it all starts. There will be no social change, no advancement if it wasn't for the advancement of the individual first and foremost. You could not be of any influence to anybody if you don't evolve yourself, if you don't improve yourself first. It will be almost impossible to create any kind of positive change of any society if you don't do your part first.
Right. So would you describe, or would one of the definitions or descriptions of Freemasonry be a system of self-improvement?
Yes, it's most definitely the basis of everything. It is our character of initiation that you go through several phases in your personal growth. Mm-hmm. So yes, it definitely goes to the betterment of the individual.
Now you mentioned initiation. Can you give us for those who haven't the experience with this? What is an initiation?
Well, an initiation basically it's the beginning of a journey, the beginning of anything actually. If it will be your usual vocation or a specific study, the initiation is that beginning, that first step that you need to take to embark yourself on many of these journeys, like I mentioned, and many more.
And is this initiation beyond just the ceremonial physical realm type of thing?
Yes, there is some element to that. The ceremony, the initiation per se, will be something repetitive if you will. It's something that it's standardized. But the real initiation becomes when you start on that journey. That the change that you start generating on yourself once you embark yourself on these journeys, on these studies, whether it be philosophical or material. There's many aspects to this fraternity that it will be difficult to explain all in a few minutes.
So when we're talking about having different initiations, are we describing this as different journeys we're embarking on for each degree? Or is this a continual, or why do you suppose that there is so many initiations?
I think it's an advancement that has to go gradually. You cannot, it's been said a lot that you cannot fly, before you learn to walk.
Right.
It's pretty much the same thing. You cannot attain to or aspire to greatness if you don't first destroy yourself in some way, so you can start anew.
Yeah, it sounds kind of anarchistic.
It is in some degree. Yes, it is.
On a personal level.
It has been proven to be on a social level as well.
And are we really... Did you really just say that?
I did. It's true. I mean, not everybody wants to talk about that subject, but it's inevitable to talk about Freemasonry. We're all talking about the social uprisings and the social changes that have been linked, at least in one way or another, to the fraternity.
All right, so let's go into that. Let's talk about something like that. Why do you suppose there is such catalysts that are worldwide history making, and oftentimes we find Freemasons there? Why do you think this is? Conspiracy theorists are gonna go on and say, look, they are planning chaos, they are the system. Or they could also point to saying, look, the French Revolution, the Mexican Revolution, the American, and all of this was caused by Freemasons. But in reality, what we do find is that there is always Masons involved in major events, but not necessarily that the events are coordinated or...
Correct.
So why do you suppose we always find Masons in these events?
Like I said earlier, you go first to the betterment of the individual.
Right.
Once you start with this human spirit of self-improvement, self-preservation, it is inevitable that people with those affinities will seek the betterment of a society they live in. So it is no coincidence that the people that are in search of something better or something greater are always trying to innovate or change paradigms or government systems that had already been established. Now, it would be naive to try to deny that Freemasonry has played an important part on all the social uprisings or the social changes, especially in the 20th century. Or you can go back to the 17th century and find the influence of Freemasonry in the advances of humanity in that respect.
And so, what you're saying is that Freemasonry sets you up in such a way that you develop yourself to be naturally looked at as a leader in society?
It doesn't start out that way, I don't think.
Okay.
I don't think anybody that is in search of something better or something greater or a way to improve himself is looking in that direction of creating change. It's just a byproduct of it.
It's a byproduct. That creating change is a byproduct of working on yourself.
Yes. You have to. You start becoming aware of situations where you may see unfairness, where you may see a difference of opinion, and that needs to be reconciled. Whenever you start searching a way, whenever you're trying to change paradigms, you will find this resistance, and every resistance will generate a counter resistance.
Right.
So it's just the human nature of the constant search of change, the constant search of improvement, per se.
And Freemasonry in itself as a system. Now, you said all the knowledge I had access to. So are we talking about Freemasonry being a system that sets you up to have access to something, but not necessarily handing you anything?
The nature of Freemasonry is so universal that it can mean very different things to different individuals. They don't tell you, they don't present you with a dogma per se, like it would be like on a political party or a particular religion. They don't present you with a dogma. They present you with information, with access to certain ancient schools of teachings, ancient ways of seeing things.
Right.
That in later years we've been finding out that modern thought is not so modern.
Right.
So in that respect, Masonry exposes you to this knowledge that on a regular basis you will not find an established school, an establishment school, or political party, or any association.
It's something that I definitely agree with you on. I believe that when you come into Freemasonry, it's really just setting you up for that access. It's not really handing you any secrets, or it's not really giving you anything else other than allowing you to discover something for yourself.
And it's always up to the initiate to
Right.
to search for that meaning that that they're trying to attain.
All right.
And the interpretations of the symbols that we have in our fraternity are precisely that, symbols. You can interpret it in however way you see fit.
Right.
The teachings are presented in allegories. Again, that's something that it's subject to interpretation. The betterment of humanity, the betterment of a person, it's always up to the individual. There's no human that is alike, and there's no secret purpose of the fraternity to turn everybody into a robot that everybody thinks the same. It's totally the opposite. It teaches you to be an individual, to use you as part of a bigger picture. In this case, will it be society or humanity and in the whole extent of the word? But it's always up to the individual.
So this buildup of the individual, I could see why now in every major event there is Freemasons, and I could also see why in every major event there's Freemasons of both sides of the event.
The ideas or the positions that a particular Freemason will take is not because it's being imposed or it's being indoctrinated by the fraternity. The fraternity instills in you that curiosity of man to discover more, to go further on your personal knowledge. The changes come about because of the individual himself.
Right.
Like you just said, there you can find Freemasons on both sides of any conflict.
Right.
It doesn't mean that one of them is wrong or the other one is right. It's just that they both have a different pattern, and they have both learned a different aspect of the fraternity that they interpreted to be best for the betterment of humanity. What I can say is that you will always find, invariably, a desire of doing better for your fellow man.
Yeah.
Whether you're on the losing side or the winning side, it doesn't matter. Both sides have always the best intent for their particular idea of what right is.
Yeah.
In that respect, then you open a whole, Pandora's box, because it's human spirit. Then you cannot encapsulate it on one idea, and this is the right way to do it.
Yeah.
We are in constant change. We are like the rest of the universe. We're in constant movement.
Right.
So to assume that somebody has a particular idea, we're setting this up to create certain outcome will be erroneous.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like you said, when you take everything away, what you end up finding are men of conviction that are looking for the betterment of society and of humanity in itself, in whichever way they define that.
Yes, and that's the diversity that you find in Freemasonry. The principles are pretty much the same.
Mm-hmm.
The ideals or the imagination of a perfect society, it's up to the individual himself.
Yeah, I agree. So moving on from that, what do you feel people should take from Masonry? Do you feel this is something every man should try out? What do you think everybody should know about it?
Every man that joins the fraternity should take with them is the knowledge that there is a supreme being. In whichever form, shape, ideology, or you name it, the individual finds, there is one.
Mm-hmm.
There is one. However you see it, whether you call him Allah, God, Christ, Jehovah, Yahweh, Hashem, you name it. There is a higher being. There is a higher energy. That's how I understand it. You can explain it in many different ways. You can explain it in a scientific way and start talking about metaphysics and stuff like that. But you will always invariably find something greater than yourself. And that's what I would think. That's what I will say every man should understand, should take, that there's always something bigger than yourself.
Now, I discovered in my personal journey in Freemasonry that it did lead me to a better understanding and a closeness to a God concept, to God as I see it. Do you agree on this, first of all? And if you do, how do we explain to others that aren't Freemasons that it's still not a religion, that it still has nothing to do with religion?
For the most part, when we talk about religion, we're talking about these systems of beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about institutions that had been created and have taken the name religion to whatever agenda they may have,
right,
or whatever idea they're trying to convey. But the term religion, it goes to the Latin word religare, is to reconnect, to retie, to bring yourself again to the origin of things.
Yeah.
In this case, we're talking about the God concept. The way that I understand it is the higher being that is the cause of my existence, the creator, and all this idea of the creator. The way I see the reconnect with my God can be very different than the next man.
Yeah.
What I will say that some people will consider religion is because through the learning, through the knowledge, the individual can get to know this part that he doesn't know.
Right.
This the way to reconnect with his essence, with his own essence, with this supreme force that we call the creator.
Yeah.
And whichever form you want to see it. That's if Freemasonry, for some happenstance, shows you the way to reconnect, then it will be considered a religion.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. So as a system, as an established institution, it is definitely not a religious institution. However, as a concept of the etymology of the word in itself, which is to retie
to reconnect.
So therefore, anything in life that reties you, anything that makes you think of God, is a religious experience at that point.
Yes.
And at that point, then yes, I could definitely agree with you.
Especially if you become aware, or you develop a system, a methodical system of how to get to that point, is when you make it a religion.
Excellent. Yeah, that's a great point. So, what do you feel is next for Freemasonry as it stands today, and in such a way where our numbers as an order are declining? Our membership seems to get older on the average age by the year. And in a worldwide scale, they're as contrary as to what popular belief is, there is quite a disconnect between, the different lodges in different countries. Where do you think Masonry is going or should go next?
I would not be able to answer that as a whole. I can give you my perspective.
Yeah.
My idea is that the reason we're declining the membership is because a lot of the knowledge that we have within or that we used to have within our lodges is not readily available for everybody. It's now very accessible to everybody. I mean, you gotta see it in the context of time. For many years in past centuries, it was even forbidden to try to learn how to read. It was not of your social class, or you were not holy enough to acquire this knowledge. Freemasonry for some time became a secret society. And that secrecy became because the subjects that were discussed within the Masonic lodges at the time were not permissible by either by the church or by the system of government on the country where these Freemasons will meet. It was not easy to access to this knowledge. Fortunately for humanity, this knowledge, or a lot of this knowledge, I would say most of it, it's readily available for the regular Joe. Anybody can go today on the internet and start searching anything of your particular interest, and you will find something that will satisfy your curiosity. A lot of this knowledge for many years was not available to the masses. It was only accessible to the very few who will venture on the search of that forbidden knowledge, whether it be a church or it be a government system that wanted to keep that knowledge to themselves. It was not available. And of course, with the modernity and all the new laws, the new system of government that, like we mentioned earlier, a lot of Freemasons had some influence in, this knowledge has become available to the masses. So it might not be necessary to belong to a Masonic lodge or to become a member of a close society in search of this knowledge, because it's already there. It's already out there. It's already out there. The difficult part, or the part where Freemasonry will take relevance, is because you will be associating with men in the same search that you are.
Right.
And by default, you will be exposed to a different explanation of the same knowledge.
Right.
And that's when you start forming your own ideas, and you can elevate your way of thinking, per se.
Yeah, that is an excellent way of looking at it. I too, in a very personal opinion, feel the same way. I feel that in order for Masonry as an order itself to survive, it's gonna have to, continue with that train of thought of having an essence of a mystery school, per se. It
still preserves that essence. That, in my experience, it still preserves that essence. Like I said, that's where I believe Freemasonry will become relevant. Because at one point we all need someone to explain, hey, what does this mean? Or what is your experience? And based on the different answers from a different member or from a different country, from a different point of view, will give you a different perspective.
Right.
And in turn will give you a different view of what this world is, or what your version of a better man is.
Yeah.
It may be subject to change at that moment.
Yeah.
And Freemasonry, that's where I feel that it's still relevant today.
Yeah.
Because even though the knowledge is still out there, there's still a lot of explaining to understand, or a lot of contemplation. Even the ways, the forms, some of it are not there.
Yeah.
When in my experience, when I came into the order, I started seeing things coming into place.
Yeah.
Some things that before did not make sense.
Yeah.
That things in your regular life, on your mundane life, and your day-to-day, things that didn't make sense. Then you became exposed to the explanation of the same knowledge in a different light, and you had those aha moments. That, like, yes, that's what this means. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I feel comfortable. Now, another very important aspect of Freemasonry is the acceptance.
Yes.
I in our previous conversation, I emphasized the difference between acceptance and tolerance. Tolerance is something that bothers you, but you tolerate it. It's there, but it's bothering you. Acceptance becomes from the point of view that everything is good. Everything is right. Not everybody is wrong. I cannot tell you're wrong. Your perspective is not mine. Your point of view is not mine.
Yeah.
So it will be wrong of me to assume that I have authority to tell you you're wrong.
Right. Right.
Even mathematics are debatable. They're undisputable, but they're debatable.
Right.
So in that regard, that's still the relevance of Freemasonry.
Yeah.
That you can come into one of our meetings, or you can come into the order. You can join us, and we can disagree with you.
Yeah.
We can disagree with you in many ways. But that disagreement is what's gonna make us grow.
Yep.
Because that disagreement is what's gonna make me question my own knowledge, my own interpretation of the same knowledge.
Yeah.
And at that point, we are open to that higher debate per se. Because I don't know of that many institutions where you can come with an idea, totally, for however lucrative it might sound, and be considered, be like, okay, let's let's see what you gotta say. Let's spill it out. Let me hear it.
Yeah.
I want to see what you wanna say. And you'd be surprised how many times you're like, that's very interesting. And then you start investigating on that line of thought. And who knows, it may change your perception, it may change your religion.
Yeah.
Even, if it comes to that. I have known of friends of mine, very, very close friends of mine, that have become to understand their own religion in a different light.
Yeah. Yeah, myself included.
Yes, they have seen their belief system on a different light for the good, for the betterment of their situation or their spirit.
Yeah.
They find that the relationships that they become accustomed to are for the purpose of elevating their own spirit.
Right.
So that's where the relevance of Freemasonry comes. It's still the only place,
right,
in my perspective, in my experience. It's still the only place where you can come with a totally lucrative idea,
yeah,
and be listened to,
yeah,
and be contemplated and be questioned,
right,
without prejudice. And after we debate and we disagree and re-agree and disagree again, at the end of the day, we're still brothers.
Right.
We're still friends. I will still be the same friend I was with you when you thought I thought the same way you did.
Yeah.
So in that respect, Freemasonry still has a lot of relevance, a lot of things to teach.
Right.
To what we would call a profane world.
Right. Victor, thank you so much. It's just been a great talk. I wish we had a bit more time. We always go on and on about this and never say all that we want to say. But I hope that we're able to do it again. We've done this twice. I hope there's a third. And again, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you.
It's always a pleasure.